look behind me.
Today on my show, we have Michael Pickens. He is the former state chairman of the Libertarian Party of Washington. He's the founder of the online Libertarian Leadership Academy. That's a tongue twister. He owns a cannabis grow. He owns a chain of CBD stores, and he is a friend in liberty. Welcome to Freedom Talk, Michael.
Thank you so much. And yeah, as you said, I'm the former state chair and soon to be future state chair of the Libertarian Party of Washington.
You're running again for the next?
I'm actually running again. Yeah, it was 2014, 2015, my term as state chair. I learned a lot. I was, 7 years younger at the time, 6 years younger. So I'm really excited for this upcoming term.
Very good. When does it start? When is the next, is it with the federal election at the same time, or?
Actually, no, it's going to be next spring.
Okay.
So we're going to have local elections, and that's really my focus right now is recruiting candidates to run in local, nonpartisan races across Washington State.
Mayoralships. I'm not too familiar with the American system, right? So counties. Fill me
in. We have the local magistrate, right? We have the local king. We have the bishops. I'm just messing around.
A couple of rooks.
It's just, yeah, mayor, city council, school board, water board, things like that.
Basically anything you can run for, you're going to try to get names. What about sheriffs? Have you thought of putting names in for sheriffs as well?
You know, we haven't had anyone put their name up for sheriff yet. I think that role kind of needs some law enforcement background. We may have some in the future, but you know, I'm up for it. Any of these local races, especially sheriff, they're the ones enforcing the laws. However, a lot of times the local police and sheriff says, well, we didn't make the law. We have to enforce it though, you know, that crap.
We're seeing a lot of that right now, but we're also seeing a lot of the sheriffs who are pushing back against these governmental edicts saying, you know, lock everybody down and do that. And there's sheriffs actually standing up and saying, no, actually, I swear allegiance to the Constitution and not you, and I'll uphold that instead.
Yeah, you know, our local sheriff here says he is not going to enforce our governor's edict, basically closing down the economy completely. You know, we are non-essential as far as our supplement stores, CBD stores, and we've been threatened by one of the county health departments to shut down, and we have not shut down, and they haven't done anything else to enforce it. So there was a recent lawsuit against, well, actually there's multiple lawsuits against the governor. He lost the recent one closing down churches. So now every church across Washington State, they just won the lawsuit in the Supreme Court here. So they can open back up, right? So basically it proved that, you know, the entire shutdown is unconstitutional, both in our Washington State Constitution and the United States Constitution.
I totally agree with that, but being on the other side of the border, we don't have these protections. Our Charter of Rights and Freedoms has very specific clauses written in there to be notwithstanding these rights. So I call it the Charter of Allowances and Privileges is really what we have.
You know, there's a lot of libertarians that fall back on the Constitution. I'm not really one of those. I like to talk about natural rights and self-ownership and the non-aggression principle. I believe that the rights laid out in the Constitution are inherent in our humanity. And even if the Constitution didn't exist, we still have these rights. So I believe if we get that out there more, and people just understand that whether they want to call it God-given rights or rights that are inherent in our humanity, it doesn't matter what label they want to put on it. And some people say, well, the Constitution, it's protected in the Constitution. Fantastic, whatever you want to call it. We have those rights, right? We should not, the government should not be able to infringe on our person, property, you know, our ability to earn an income, anything like that, as long as we're not hurting anyone else, right? That's what libertarians believe.
I agree with that.
Principle and self-ownership.
100%. And I tell people in Canada that a right is only something that you're willing to defend with your own life. Because the minute somebody's aggressing on you and they're going to take that from you, if you don't stand up for it, the government isn't going to be there to help you with that right. It's a privilege that you have to defend yourself, right? So
yeah, it's unfortunate though, because a lot of people in society believe that if the police arrest someone, well, then that person deserved it because the police have the authority, right? That person deserved to be beat down or deserved to be put in handcuffs or deserved, you know, even though we see so many examples of like a mother getting arrested at a park for letting her kids play at a park, or, you know, things like this, you know, people getting arrested at the beach for surfing. Like these people didn't hurt anyone else, yet there's a segment of society that believes that the law means that it's right. And if you break the law, then you did something wrong. But we have to change the perception of that. Just because there's a law, it doesn't mean that it's a just law.
That's right.
It could be an unjust law, and it doesn't need to be followed. So
100%. Jefferson said that. He said if it's a unlawful law, it's not only your right to break it, but it's your duty. You should stand against that and break that law because it's not just. And there's a difference between something being illegal and being unlawful, right? There is a difference between the two. And just because something is illegal doesn't mean that it's unlawful. It just means that some bureaucrat didn't like that and passed something to try to aggress against you on that. It's a huge conversation. And we as people, I think, have lost a lot of our knowledge in that end. That we were much more educated to our rights back in the day when they were being aggressed against more. But I think we're coming full circle on that as well too, Michael. We're seeing a lot of people who are now understanding, hey, these guys are pushing against our most natural rights and our most inherent.
Yeah.
So it wakes that.
You know, I like using the term unethical, right? To me, something is ethical as long as it's not hurting anyone else.
Yes. Right.
So, and it's unethical if it is hurting someone else, if you're aggressing upon someone else. So I like to use ethics versus, lawful.
Sure.
Right.
Yep. Great.
There's so many bullshit, unethical laws on the books right now.
Thousands of them. And a lot of them don't even make any sense when you read them. They're just like, how did that even get passed? The mayor of Chicago now, did you see what she was talking about? How she went on TV and said, I don't care. You're not going to meet these private parties, these private meetings. If you even talk about meeting on Facebook, we're going to find you. We're going to cite you. And if need be, we're going to throw you in jail. Period. That was her whole speech. And I was just dumbfounded. Like, I can't even talk about having a dinner with you now.
So, last weekend we had a phase 3 barbecue. In the States, there's different phases that they're opening up society, right? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Phase 1 is no gatherings whatsoever, which is what the phase we're at here in Washington State. Phase 2 is gatherings of 5 or less. Phase 3 is, I think it's 10, right? So we did a phase 3 barbecue. We had about 12 people come over to the house, and it's completely against the law, right, or the executive order. But the cool thing about what's happening right now, and I say cool thing, and it's not very cool, but what's happening is that people are now coming to realize that the government is overstepping their bounds. And we're able to use this situation to talk about natural rights, which is something we've been doing at the local level with an initiative that we're running here in Spokane to decriminalize psilocybin mushrooms and any other entheogenic plants. And at the meetings, we talk about self-ownership and the non-aggression principle. And to join the organization, you actually have to sign the non-initiation of force pledge to join. So we're getting a lot of people from the left coming into these meetings just thinking about their ability to consume psilocybin mushrooms, and they're leaving with a greater understanding of their humanity. And a lot of them are like, oh, wow, I've never heard about this before. And then once they understand the principle, some of them can apply it to other aspects of life altogether, and they're becoming more libertarian without even saying the word libertarian, right? Because you can believe all the principles of libertarianism without even knowing what the word means. And you know, we have a lot more success leading with principles and leading with concepts and ideas versus leading with the word libertarian. So
100%. And that's a big discussion that we have up here, that libertarianism is a swear word in Canada, but yet we believe in rights and we believe in freedoms. And there's a whole subset of people who are really libertarian. But the minute you say the word, they have this picture painted, right?
Yep. Now, let me ask you a question. When you run for like your city races, do you have to pick a party? Do all the candidates run as a party for even the lowest level races?
No, it's the same as the United States. They're nonpartisan.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So we had a big push in 2016. We had the most candidates ever in Washington State. There were 36 candidates just in our state, across the states, running for office. And we had some really good results, and we had some bad results, but all of them were partisan races. In 2015, we had 15 candidates running for nonpartisan races, and 5 of them got elected. And 3 of them are still elected, have won their reelection campaigns for nonpartisan races. So one of them is running for state representative right now. He has 6 years elected experience, right? So next year, I'm looking to do that again by recruiting a bunch of people to run for these lower level races and build a farm team, really.
Yes.
You know, past few years, I haven't been doing much because I've been focusing on business and family, but I'm really, you know, ramping up to get back into it. So I'm excited about that.
That is exciting news. And we've had that conversation up here too, that is it easier to win those lower level nonpartisan races, build a name for yourself in the community, build a reputation on, you know, what you're going to do for the community and how you're going to make things work, and then step to the next level from that and start running for the partisan races. And people go, oh, you know, I elected him in the city. He did a great job. Let's give him a chance as libertarian, right?
Absolutely. And I look at Jeff Hewitt. He was the mayor of Mesa, California. And then he ran for the next higher office, which was a county supervisor position of like, you know, 6 million people in the county. And he got elected to that, barely, but he got elected to that running against a Republican, you know. But he was able to do that because he built confidence as, you know, a mayor. So we really have to understand that people vote for those they know, like, and trust, right? And running for a higher seat with, you know, a wider population base means that you have to get more people to know you, like you, and trust you. If you run for a smaller seat where there's no titles or, you know, no party affiliation attached to it, people will judge you on your ideas more than they will that party label. They won't have that dogmatic, you know, I've got to vote liberal, I've got to vote conservative, I've got to vote, you know, whatever. You know, they'll look at your website and they'll look at your ideas. You know, we've held 2 events here in Spokane called NAP Talks, Non-Aggression Principle Talks. One of them was on breaking the cycle of homelessness. We had 5 speakers give their solutions to homelessness that are all based on non-aggression, on voluntary solutions. And then the second one we did was on breaking the cycle of sick care. 5 speakers talked about different solutions for the medical system, right, that are all based on voluntary solutions. So we're looking to do a couple more of those. The next one will be breaking the cycle of hunger, right? That's a big one right now with our food chain, you know, breaking apart because of the government, because of the restrictions that are in place, and only allowing certain manufacturers and, you know, meat processors in the market, where these small farmers, you know, can't sell into supermarkets, right? It's only the big ones that have paid the big bucks to get in. And now those big ones with the big bucks, you know, don't have employees to run their processing facilities. So, you know, there's people at the local level that are looking to these local ranchers and buying from them, but now they're buying them out. because they're just used to supplying a small customer base,
Yes.
and now their customer base is growing. So we need to be able to diversify the system and get government out of the way, and it's going to benefit so many people.
100%. And it's, Canada's in a very unusual situation with our supply chain, because we're having our federal government has doled out $2,000 a month in a program called the CERB to make sure that nobody starves. But what's happened now is the guys who are working in those meat packing plants are only normally making maybe $2,600 or $2,700 a month. So it's easier for them to go, you know what, I'm scared to work and sit at home and collect that CERB. So now these meat packing plants can't find anybody to work there, and our supply chain is going to start to break in that edit. So it's really interesting to see how that everybody's pushing for the UBI, and they want this basic income, but you can see it right now that it doesn't work, because it totally de-incentivizes anybody from doing anything to contribute.
Yeah, why would you go work in a meat packing plant when you can sit at home and play video games and get paid the same, if not more? Here, they're getting paid more. So that's a big problem that's happening. There's no one that wants to work if they're going to get paid more to stay home.
That's right. And it's apparent. And these are the things we've been saying this for years as libertarians, that you can't take that incentive away from the market, because that's what drives this is the fact that people need to get out and go to work and provide for their family. But it also gives you a sense of worth. Like what we're seeing now too is people who have been home for 2 months, they're losing their self-worth. They're losing, any type of, feeling of contribution to society. They're starting to feel useless and worthless.
Sure.
And that's a whole nother problem that's going to start coming from this. So everybody watch and be mindful, because these things are across the border conversations. And you're saying very similar things to that we're saying up here. But I wanted to get into your Leadership Academy, and I think it has a lot to do with what you were just discussing. So tell us a little bit about the program and how we can get involved, and then, what does that offer a libertarian who wants to run or wants to better himself to make himself more palatable on the ballot?
Yeah, so there's quite a few courses that are in the online training academy. And the reason why I put this together is because I was stepping out from doing the in-person trainings. You guys had me up in Vancouver, and I did an in-person training up there. So the online academy, people can learn and go through the how to build a campaign team course. They can go through my foundational leadership course. They can go through the social media course, the fundraising course. They can learn all the skills necessary to win election, right? And it really comes down to, I'm gonna give a good piece of information right now. It really comes down to how many people you can connect with, right? That whole, people will vote for you if they know you, like you, and trust you better than your opponent, right? So it really is, how many hands can you shake? Well, now the situation's a little different, because you can't really shake hands. You can't really.
We're elbow bumping here.
Yeah, boom, fist bumps too, done a lot of that, right? You still have to go connect with people though. Entrenched politicians usually have a very solid network. Why? Because they've been going out and talking to people and building their network and building relationships and making connections, even simple connections, just like, hey, my name is Michael Pickens, I'm running for office, and here are my solutions. Right, here is what I'm looking to do. Now, everyone may not agree with you, but it doesn't matter. You're not going out there to try to convince everyone to vote for you. You're going out there to find the people that already kind of think like you do. Right, you're sorting, you're not selling.
That's right.
What I like to say is there's a acronym, SW, 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 SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting, right? Someone's waiting to hear your message. Someone's waiting to hear your solutions and say, hey, that actually makes sense. I'll vote for you. But that really takes the fear away from it when you have that mentality of that some people will, some people won't, right? When you go out there knowing that maybe 1 in 10 people are going to say, yeah, I agree with you, and the other 9 people that 1 out of 10 people, 10%, That's really low, but it's setting yourself up for success. If you go out there thinking that, 9 out of 10 people are going to disagree with you, right? 9 out of 10 people are not going to like you, then it's just going to make it a whole lot easier.
It's like the 1 in 10 analogy, because when you're selling anything on the phone or anywhere, that's the number they say. 7 people are going to tell you to go F yourself. 1's going to say yes right away, and 2 are going to sit on the fence. And the good salesman is the guy who can pick one of those 2 that are on the fence and turn them onto his side. If you're really good, you can turn 3. And anybody who's selling at 3 out of 10 is a professional. It's kind of like baseball. The difference between hitting 250 and 300 is about $6 million a year, but it's really 1 hit every 2 weeks. It's not like he's outperforming him on a drastic measure. He gets that extra little bloop hit, or the odd ball hits the fence and it doesn't go in the glove, and it's not a huge margin at the level, but on the ground it becomes this huge level.
I coached a ton of candidates, and the thing that really hurts them the most is having expectations that are just blown out of proportion, thinking that they're just going to run for office and put their name on the ballot. They're going to get all kinds of support. And, that's not reality. And it's not reality to even think that the National Libertarian Party or your state Libertarian Party or your local Libertarian Party is going to do a ton of stuff for your campaign. What candidates need to realize and become good at is recruiting and then training, right? And that's what the Academy is all about, providing those skills necessary. It's not just for candidates to go through the training, it's for your campaign team as well. Because when you get someone that comes on your campaign, if their mindset isn't in the right place to understand that you're going to have people out there that aren't going to like your candidate, that aren't going to like your ideas. And if you don't have the tough skin that you're going to need to go through those no's to reach the yeses, you're going to have a tough time. And, people out there running for office, and as soon as they get some negative feedback or some rejection, they kind of suck back into themselves, right? They can't handle the rejection, so they just stay home, right? They just quit. They just give up in their mind. Instead of saying, yes, I got one of those no's out of the way, let me go find another no, and they get excited about the rejection because they know once they've been rejected by 8 people, they're going to find number 9 and number 10. They're going to say, yes, I support you, right? They're going to give you a donation, and they're going to tell you, well, hey, I've got a couple other friends that think like I think that would vote for you too. I'm going to tell them about you. Or I'll buy a yard sign, right? But you're going to have 8 or 9 people tell you they're not going to buy a yard sign until you find the ones that will. So when you look at it like that, you're going to have a lot of success. And it's just like sales. The candidates that are good at sales, that have taken the time to learn sales, get better, right? And they get better results. So sales is a skill to learn, right? So there's a lot of people who run for office that don't think that they can learn how to be good at sales. Right? There's people in general that don't like sales, but it's just a numbers game. You just have to find people who are looking for what you're selling, and that's what it's all about. And the government doing what they're doing right now, there's way more people looking for what we're selling.
I'm telling you, it's wide open market for us. This is, and I've set it up here. If this is not the time for liberty, if libertarians don't shine in this, we never will. And it's time to go back to golf and business and get out of the politics end. Because if you can't sell freedom in an era of fascism, then there's a huge issue going on and you're not doing it right. And I know that I'm having all kinds of traction, and my exposure has exponentially grown in the last 3 weeks, because I am standing there and I'm saying, listen, this is enough. We can do this on our own. We don't need the interference. It's been 2 months of it, and that traction is growing. And selling yourself is something that everybody needs to do, regardless of what you do, whether you're doing politics, whether you work at the gas station, whether you're, whatever you're doing in your life. It improves when you can market yourself and put your best self forward for people to see. You get better pay, you'll find better jobs, you'll have better relationships in this world. it's everything. And having that self-confidence to stand up and sell yourself is a huge thing. And you're right. The discouragement of someone who comes in on that first ballot, I felt it too. I got 2.5% in my first election. And I thought, the world was over. But I got over it really quickly because I understood that I did better than most. I was at the top of the libertarian pile at 2.5%. And I had to just take a little bit of time.
Before your first run for office, how many votes did you get?
None. Zero.
Exactly. You got none. So any votes you get is an increase. It's an improvement. How many votes did you get your first run?
I got 385. No, it was after they did the count in, I got 410. And in my riding, that was 2.5%. It's a smaller district, right?
Sure, but 410 people believed in you enough to vote for you. Now, those 410 people are going to vote for you next time. So when you run again, you just got to get more people. You just got to reach out to more people.
That's right.
And you look at like Abraham Lincoln, not the best example, but he ran for office 7 times before he actually won, something like that. Like he lost and 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 then won.
Yes.
Susan Marie Weber, she's the mayor of Palm Desert, California. She ran for office 4 times before she actually won. 4 times ran for office.
It takes intestinal fortitude to do that. So my next example of running is when I moved to Ontario, because I was out in BC and I did my first election and then I moved to Ontario. And there was a by-election that came up in the riding that I'm living in. And I ran. The federal party is pretty weak here in Canada. The federal libertarians don't have a lot of candidates. So I put my name in and I got, I think it was 95 votes in the by-election. And because I'm just new to the area and I'm a new face. And I kind of smiled. I said, that was, 0.6. And I'm like, okay, watch the next time. 7 months later, we had a federal election. I got 2.5% and I got 1,311 votes in the same riding, same place. So that shows you that if it's building that connection. And I know the next time I go out, I'll get 4,000 or 5,000 because I've got a reputation in the area and I'm out there and I'm doing that work. And I don't let that, it's not a defeat to me. It's all gains for me, from the 95 to 1,300, I gained, 1,200. And if I can exponentially do the same thing, I would actually win. But I know that it's not going to expand that way, but I'm not far down. A couple of ballots from now and, 3,000, 4,000 the next time and 6 and it'll grow. And you keep in that and you keep fighting that way. And that's the mentality that wins. The winning mentality is to take the loss and pick all the positives out of it and gain from that.
Yep. So I like to break it down to one at a time, right? One voter at a time. You think about it like that, right?
Yes.
Just like in sales, you get one customer, right? And then you focus on getting the next customer. And you hope they become repeat customers, right? Because once you have a repeat customer, there's not a whole lot of work you have to do there. So then you focus on more customer acquisition, which is your marketing, right? Which is your messaging, which is going out and fist bumps, right?
For sure.
And meeting people.
You have to be strong in the mind. You have to be willing to take that punishment because there's people out there who are going to say the same things about you as you say about X or Y politically.
Sure.
Right? If you're not a Democrat, you got things to say about Sleepy Joe. If you're not a Republican, you got lots of things to say about Trump. And you are no different than them. You are just another person putting yourself out. And some will like you and some won't. And the things that they say to the ones that they don't like are not always kind. You need thick skin.
Yeah, they're gonna make shit up about you when you run for office. Sure. They're gonna absolutely make shit up, and you're gonna be like, "Where did this come from?"
Right.
You're
How's business?
gonna have friends come up.
Let's change the subject a little bit and talk about business. How's the CBD business in Washington?
So business is going great right now. Last month was our second best month ever. This month, May looks like it's going to be our best month ever. But I shifted focus and back to customer acquisition. So we're getting more people coming through the door.
Yes.
We're building that customer base, and it's the same way. And when I run for office, it's going to be the same thing. And I plan on running for local city council, nonpartisan. And when that happens, I'll be using the network that I've built here locally to run for office. And hopefully I can get it the first time. But if I don't get it the first time, probably get it the second time or the third time or the fourth time, right?
Yeah, you'll see at it and you'll get it.
Absolutely. And that's what everyone needs to look at it, right? As far as the cannabis business, where we sell recreational cannabis into retail stores, that's going fantastic as well. Cannabis use is way up. People are staying home, right? And they need something to chill out with. So
that's right.
Cannabis use is way up.
Are you ready to meet the demand? Have you guys been heavy on growing and you're good to go? You want a supplier?
We're at Tier 1 here in Washington State, which means we're at 2,300 square feet. So it's a small grow compared to some of the other ones that are out there. But we're okay, infrastructure and the way the licenses are, we'd have to pay $100,000 to expand up to a higher tier license. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So we're good. We're good where we're at.
The mafia needs to take their cut, Michael. You know how that works, right? If you're going to grow, you've got to make sure that you pay the boys.
Oh, I know. We pay our extortion fees every month. It's absolutely ridiculous. But for anyone considering running for office, learning sales skills is absolutely key. There's a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I highly recommend reading that 10 times. Right, you can actually listen to the audio of it 10 times, right? Because the skills that you're going to learn from that, and that's what you're doing, is winning friends and influencing people to your views. I did say that most of what you're doing is sorting, right? You're not really selling. But if you get someone to like you as a person, they're more open to hearing what you have to say, right? What is that saying? People don't care about what you know until they know that you care. I don't remember who said it, but people don't care about what you know until they know that you care about them, right, and what their issues are. So when you're talking to people out in the community, if there's a topic that you don't agree with them on, don't press it, right? Don't sit there and get an argument. Just go next. Just literally say next and go to the next topic until you find something that you agree with them on, because then you can start building the relationship.
That's right. Common ground is so essential in this, and you're not going to agree on every issue. It's almost impossible. Even libertarians, and we're the worst for it, is we can have 4 opinions between 2 people on one topic and fight over it, right?
Libertarians are notorious for picking out issues until they find one they disagree on, right? So, okay, we agree on this, but we don't agree on this. So this is what we're going to talk about.
And that's why I don't like you today, is what he would say to you.
Yeah.
Why I can't vote for you, even though I'm a libertarian, and I can't do it because there's one issue here that I don't agree with.
What do you call
Go ahead.
What do you call a group of libertarians arguing about philosophy?
What?
A circle jerk.
That's the truth. Oh my God.
Oh man.
What do you think of the 2020 convention?
Here in the United States, the 2020 convention, the LNC, the Libertarian National Committee, just decided that half of it is going to be online on the 20th. So coming up in a week and a half, and we're going to be voting on our presidential and vice presidential candidates. And then in July, we're going to be meeting, potentially meeting in person to elect our party leadership and do bylaws and constitution. Now, who knows, what is really going to happen. But it looks like the Libertarian Party of Kentucky had a debate last night, and they did a poll of delegates. These are the people who will vote at our national online convention. I think there was 200 submissions, around 200, and Justin Amash looks like he's a front runner by a wide margin. And then Vice President Larry Sharp is won with like 70% of the vote. So it looks like definitely Larry Sharp's going to get in as our VP candidate, which I'm very excited about. You know, being his campaign manager for his VP race from 2016, and still very close friends with him, and everything that he does is just amazing. And we lost that election to Bill Weld by 30 votes. So this is going to be vindication for us when we get the VP slot this year. And if it's Amash, that's fine with me. If it's any of the other candidates, that's fine with me too. I'm just looking forward to it being over.
No kidding. The shiny bauble caucus is still powerful in the Libertarian Party in the United States, I guess, because the last time you had your two shiny baubles, and you know it was the governor ticket, and you were so experienced, and you were going to show everybody that we were responsible and we could do this, and people just ignored it anyways. And you know that the hatred for the two main parties was stronger than any type of responsible thought.
Well, you know, they did get the most votes for a libertarian in history, and the runner-up to that was Gary Johnson in 2012. So Gary Johnson got the most, and then he tripled that number. So it was a good thing. And that a lot of people don't realize that there were a lot of other libertarians that came into the party because of Gary Johnson. Larry Sharp is an example. Look at the number of candidates we had here in Washington State in 2016 was primarily because of Gary Johnson's run in 2012. A lot of people came on board, and there's a lot of people still in leadership today that are from that campaign. So I do believe, you know, if Amash gets it, there will be a lot of people that come on board, and that will stay long term. And Amash has said that he's in it long term. He's going to help long term. He's not disappearing like Gary Johnson did. He's not going to go hop on a bicycle and disappear for the next 4 years, right, after the election. He's not going to go get stoned in his house in New Mexico for the next 4 years, right? That's not.
Is he still looking on the map for Aleppo? It's under his rolling papers.
Yeah, it's on his rolling papers, exactly.
Well, and I love Gary, and I hate to carve on him, because I feel that he's an honest guy, and he tried his best, and he did put us on the map. So it's tongue in cheek when I pick on him. I'm less of a fan of Weld, but you know, I really did appreciate Gary doing what he did.
Oh, I didn't like Weld at all. I still don't like Weld. I like Gary Johnson. He was just goofy, and he was stoned. You know, his 2020 campaign, I feel that he was better than 2016. 2016, he stopped smoking weed. He said, "I'm not going to smoke weed at all through this campaign." Like, dude, you should have smoked weed. You
should have popped a couple of times.
Yeah. Anyways. So what else did you want to know?
Well, I wanted to talk maybe a little bit about rights in a pandemic, and
sure.
What can we do as citizens to make sure that because what's happening is there's people aren't working, and they're starting to starve, and we have to understand that, you know, the hairdresser counts, and the DJ who works at the bar, they're essential too, because they're providing for themselves. And to say that they're non-essential and just categorize them off the chart it's a huge violation of our rights. So what can we do as people to make sure that we're fed in an air of authoritarianism?
We have to come together. Right now, the government and the authoritarians have the numbers, right? So with people getting arrested for opening up their businesses, it's because they haven't built a network in their community yet. They do have somewhat of a network, but there's still too many people who are afraid, not only of the government, but of the virus, right? One thing we're going to learn over this next year is how insignificant it actually is. So they're saying that, oh, there's going to be 3,000 deaths per day, you know, from this virus. Well, back in 2017 here in the United States, there was anywhere between 7,000 and 8,000 deaths per day in the United States. And this was, you know, give or take a few hundred. But what we're going to find out is that nothing has really changed, and the same amount of people are dying, and it's not as serious as they put it out to be. The only reason why they made it serious is because they put together a program called Event 201 to prepare governors to do just this, to shut down society over a pandemic. They wrote the blueprint on what they're going to do, and they needed to implement it, right? Yeah. These central planners, they create these plans, and if they don't implement the plans, then they're like, well, we need to test it out and see how it works. And that's what they did. They created this plan. And if you look up Event 201, there's a government website that shows video of them talking about how they need to implement these phases and shut down society in case there's a pandemic, right? And unfortunately for them, they picked the wrong one that wasn't as serious as they said it was. Or you know what I mean?
Sure. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing at the end of this, is that people are going to go, wow, we just wasted months of our life, and we caused all this economic hardship over nothing, really, at the end of the day. And I think that will help us in the back end. But I'm worried about how we get there and how the people that we're about to lose along the way.
This situation reminds me of a book called The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Yes.
Right? If you have the government basically crying wolf, there's this disease that everyone's going to die from. And when we realize that, everyone's really not dying from it, the next time something happens, the next time they do this, it may be serious, it may not be, but most people are going to be like, no, you lied to us the last time. You blew this out of proportion the last time. We need to see the data first. Not only do we need to see the data first, people are going to need to see it firsthand. You know, hospital systems here, they're talking, Providence is talking about laying off 6,000 medical workers. 6,000. That's huge.
Yes.
Because there just isn't the demand. And because the governor has stopped all elective surgeries, he's basically shut down the system unless you have this disease. Well, there's only been 300 cases in this whole area, population 500,000. So people are going to say, no, we're going to need to see it in person. There's hospital workers that are pissed off, that are being furloughed, right? Sure. They're like, this isn't real. We would like to go back to work now.
Yeah, and I hope we do sooner than later, because you and I understand that there's ramifications on the backside of this that have nothing to do with the virus that we're going to deal with for years to straighten out. And some people will never recover from this, either financially, mentally. You know, we're going to lose people on the backside that was 100% completely preventable, regardless of what you could save. You know, and I hear, if only one life, but regardless of that one life, there's going to be so many more lost on the backside of this. And I feel for those people, but we need to hold them up and say, look, when the next time this comes down, say, look at all these lives. I want those names to be recorded in history, not just the ones that died from the virus, but I want the ones that died from the solution to get the recognition too, to say, look, we caused this. Right. They're
saying more people are going to die from suicide than from the actual virus because of this. More businesses are going to be lost. You know, I already did not trust anything the government tells me. We were not labeled an essential business. The CBD stores weren't, and we didn't shut down. We didn't close down. Even when the county health department said you have to close down, we didn't close down. We said no. You know, we showed, you got Section 12 of the Washington State Constitution that says that the government cannot play favorites. They cannot, choose one business over another. And we've got the United States Constitution, where we just said no, it's not going to happen, and that was the end of it. And we stayed open. But there's other people that immediately closed their doors.
Sure.
Next time they won't.
Well, and I hope so. Up here, everybody shut down. In Canada, we just rolled up the sidewalks, and that was the end of it. But now people are starting to go, well, you know what? Maybe we'll start creeping out of the house and peek and see if it's okay now. But so I've all along I've just not believed in it, and then that's because I'm disillusioned with government from the start.
Sure. Well, one thing I did is I bought a bunch of masks and I started selling face masks. I'm like, shit, if people are looking for masks, I'm going to make some money on this. Now, I didn't price gouge anyone. Been selling them for $3. It's not like some people are selling them for $10. But this is the thing. In the future, we have to understand that we accept a risk by living. Okay, we can go out there and die in a car crash. Doesn't mean we stop driving. It's the same thing. You have people who are immunocompromised, who are afraid for their health. Guess what? They can stay home. They don't have to go out. And that's what we're trying to tell these people. They're saying, well, we need to keep the shutdown, the stay-at-home shutdown. Like, no, you can stay at home. If you're afraid for your health, don't go out. Stay home. Right? But the thing that they're looking at is that if there's a pandemic and the government says stay home, they can collect more money and stay home. Right? Versus if there wasn't and the government didn't force people to stay home, they can't get any more money. And that's what they're looking at. They're saying, well, if we release this shutdown, I'm afraid to go outside, but I'll also lose that extra $600 a week that's coming in right now.
That's right.
So they want everyone to stay home, and they're going to force other people. I don't get that $600 a week. We applied for their business grant. We didn't get it. We didn't get the local Washington State grant. We didn't get the federal small business grant. We didn't get any of it. We applied for all of it and got nothing. So, well,
what else can you do but stay open at that point? And that's where I'm saying government has always been famous for picking winners and losers. They're not about helping anybody. They're just picking winners and losers. And most of the time they could give two shits who the winner and the loser is. They're just passing that legislation and let the chips fall where they may. And I think,
if I donated,
saving face, right? They've gone so far with it that if you were to just repeal all of this and go back to normal, we would say, well, what the hell did we do this in the first place for? So now they're trying to back out of the room really slowly,
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to save face, right? They're perpetuating the problem because they don't want to admit they were wrong.
That's right.
However, history will show that they were wrong.
And we need to be vigilant to remember this and to stay on it and hold their feet to the fire at every corner. I said the other day, there's going to be a political reckoning for this. And we need to always remember this. This is a one time in our lifetime situation. If we're smart, we can remember this and never let it go. And the next time some guy tries to say something, we can say, no, we know your history and we can do better than that.
Yeah, you just reminded me to do something. I need to email out the local list and actually ask for candidates for 2021. That's something that I need to do, Clyde.
Awesome.
Brought this up because this is the thing. Imagine if you had a city council here in Spokane. There's 7 seats. If you had 4 of those seats filled by libertarians and they said, no, we're not shutting down, right? And basically said, screw the governor, we're not shutting down. That's what we need. So go out there, make it happen. Run for local office. If you want to get signed up for the academy, free membership, talk to Keith and he will get you set up with my email address. Shoot me an email and I'll get you free access. And you have free access to anyone who wants it.
Awesome. We couldn't ask for any better support. And I wish you the best on your run for chair in Washington. And I will be keeping my ear to the floor and I want to see some big results. And we're going to be doing the same thing up here. We're going to start focusing a lot more on the local level. But thank you again for the call, Michael. And I appreciate your time. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me on.
And don't forget to roll up a big fat one for us.
Will do. You have a good one.
Take care, my friend.
Look behind me.